that I would stream this video because I started watching it. I was going to do a reaction video to it, but I was like, this is going to be so long, it's probably better to stream it. I made it about 2-3 minutes into the video. The video is 12 minutes long, so I reckon I'll be here for maybe 40-ish, 50 minutes reacting to this video, and then I'll have to go. But it is a very, very interesting conversation about how modern women destroy their kids for selfish reasons. So it seems to be a snippet out of an actual bigger podcast show, but I think that it is very interesting to discuss because I grew up around a very rocky childhood, and I thought that I would talk about this. Sorry, I've got a phone call. Give me a moment. So, yeah, I think it'll be a very interesting discussion for sure. So, without further ado, let's just watch this.
In childhood is a building block.
If you have a kid that's in a single mother home, she's more likely to go to jail. She's more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to be sexually abused by the stepdad. They're more likely to have mental health issues. Every statistical disadvantage you could put your kid at, you're putting them at what? Because you're not happy?
Yeah,
you're in control of your happiness.
But that's when we get into the maturing thing. Happiness it's like happiness kind of has to take a back seat.
Yeah, because not everything's going to be happy all the time.
I hear it, but at the same time,
it depends though, because abuse is
at the same time though.
I think male or female, if you're in an abusive relationship, whether it's verbal,
but
abuse
is different to being
unhappy. That plays in unhappiness. That is unhappy.
Wait, but this is propaganda though. They put this in the media. Like, we're so afraid of these men that are just abusing women all the time. It's like 5%, if that, of men that commit the majority of the crimes. And what percent of them are incarcerated? Yet women pick man that's incarcerated. Women pick these dangerous men.
They're
and
like
then why?
So, like, what I was saying in the video that I was going to record was that this woman is assuming that women pick men who are incarcerated. But my father, as you guys know, previously went to jail. And when he was in jail, I was 16, right? My mum had me when she was a teenager. So obviously that didn't happen beforehand. So I think that it is safe to assume that a lot of the time women get with these people and then they get incarcerated. It's not that they normally go for somebody who is incarcerated or has been. It's just sometimes they'll go with them and then it happens, you know? There are a lot of variables to incarceration too. Like, obviously somebody breaking into a primary school and stealing a bunch of computers is very different to somebody who commits mass murder.
When it happens. So it's like, am I gonna feel bad for you that you picked a back? That's who you picked. You made a kid with him. Work it out.
Decisions have consequences, and you need to realize that decisions that you make, because a lot of times, a lot of people need to realize that the decisions that you make don't only just affect you; they affect everyone around you.
And I see it like today when we had 4 girls come on the show for like the cat lady or wife show, and I think did all 4 come from single mother homes? I think all 4, either 3 out of 4 or 4 did, and you can see it in the way they view relationships. Yeah. Like, they all say partnership. Like they don't even understand that husband and wife is a role.
Like, I would argue husband and wife being a role is a thing, but like that's up to the husband and wife to determine what their role tasks are, and in that sense it is a partnership. So
it's like they don't know basic things, and then it's like you get these kids that have never seen a functioning relationship. Then our generation can't have relationships. There's so many problems that come with that, like homelessness, drug addiction. There's so many issues that come as a result of single mother homes.
I mean, like, there are lots of people who come from very rich homes that have drug addictions too, where their parents are fine. There are so many variables to that. Like, it's not just single parent homes. And, like, if you look at me, like, I grew up with the rockiest childhood out of everybody that I personally know. And I don't smoke. I barely have a drink. If I have a drink, it has to be with somebody that I feel safe with, like my partner, for instance, or like my family. Well, I wouldn't even drink with my family. And, like, I'll have, like, a mouthful, maybe. Like, I tend to not get my own drinks, so I don't really like to. I just don't like the control, but a lot of people feel that drinking is good, and a lot of people get addicted to alcohol because it is a drug, but I mean, that doesn't just mean that they had single parents or whatnot. And a lot of people who came from single parent homes, yeah, I would argue that they didn't really have to drink or anything like that. There's plenty of people I know that are straight edge and came from single parent homes.
And a lot of times it leads to the birth rate declining.
Yeah.
Because now I think we're at like 1.4 kids per woman. They're predicting that 50% of women are going to be single and childless.
Yeah, but there's a lot of variables to that too. Like, for instance, a lot of people don't want to have kids because of our current economy state, or the fact that rentals are going higher but wages aren't increasing. They don't want to bring a kid up in that world. A lot of people can't afford it. A lot of people have decided that there's too many humans on the planet. There are so many variables to that.
Yeah.
Like, so now 50 more women that hit 30 are not going to have kids than have them in the next couple of years.
Yeah. It's like that thing where, you know, when people say, like, someone who bullies is someone who's just being bullied in another situation by someone else, right? It's kind of, you can liken that to this situation, because it's like if one person sees a bad relationship and they don't know how to do a bad relationship, all they will know is what they've seen and what they know to be true from the immediate surroundings. Now,
I would argue that that's not necessarily the case either. Like, I feel like that people who see bad relationships sometimes learn from them and will do either the opposite or do a lot of things that they feel like isn't correct, you know? Why is this streaming as 5M? I changed this. Okay, I'll fix that up, but...
Now, if the immediate surroundings are negative and every example of a relationship is all negative, the only idea of a relationship that they have in their head is most likely going to refer back to negative. Yes, they will have the positive ones from movies and stuff, but they only know negative.
Also, it's also about, like, the way that humans behave is based off of what they know. We can only behave off of what we know. Like,
exactly.
If you go back to when we were, is it like hunter-gatherer times? Like, that our brain maps stuff out. So if you've only seen bad stuff, like you say, you might see good stuff in the movies, but you're not the one actually going through the experience.
Yeah.
You're going to repeat that pattern of unhealthy relationships, like, because it's all that your brain has actually experienced. Like,
and it doesn't even have to be.
But sometimes you can do the complete opposite, because you were raised in that household.
Yes, exactly.
And you saw. And you're like, this is how I don't want my marriage to go.
Of course. But
you can, but statistically they don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like, why do you think? I mean, we don't even have to look at stats to know this. Why do we say that girls have daddy issues? Like, there are ramifications for not having functioning, happy relationships. And
why do we see, like, speaking of daddy issues, what I'd like to know is, why do we see so many girls pretending to have daddy issues? Like, that would be a bigger question, because there's so many girls on TikTok and everything just pretending that they have daddy issues when they actually have stable homes. And
I also think it turns men into simps, where they don't know how to deal with women, because, like, they've never seen a masculine man lead in a relationship, and then you have all the women complaining that there's no masculine men.
It's like trying to explain the color red to someone who's colorblind. If you've never seen the color red, how do you explain it?
Like, have you guys heard of the inmates and the prisoners and the guards psychological like experiment that happened that they did?
Oh, the Stanford
The
prison
Stanford
experiment.
one. So I
Oh,
met the
try
guy
and
who did
read
Zimmerman.
Yeah,
I met
something
him.
like that.
Right. So this experiment essentially like they had a room full of people. They split them in half. Students. Half of them were inmates and the other half were guards. And they realized after a certain amount of time, the guards started acting like actual guards, and the prisoners started acting like actual prisoners, and they started having like an actual power
And they had to shut it
disparity,
down, didn't
and they had
they?
to shut it down early because the guards were like really taking it in as like this is their life, and these people are actually villainous people.
That is a very interesting experiment, but I just am curious to know what that has to do with anything. It really is just, I don't know. Like, that's not necessarily, I don't think that would be the same, you know?
The reason I bring this up is to show like this is a real life psychological example of what it looks like to be surrounded by images of things that you don't really understand. Is an example of like being surrounded by a negative image of what you think should happen, only going off your idea of what it should happen, and seeing how the human mind goes with that, because they were quick to take on the roles of prisoner and jailer.
Wasn't it like
and
3 days?
it was like 3 to 5 days or something, and they flipped. They were gonna kill these people. Like people were like locked up for solitary confinement. So it goes to show. The reason I bring it up is to show that like the psychology of human beings is so like
fragile.
Yeah, I was gonna say frigid or like fragile. That like things around you that you see every day that you don't even realize that you see or hear or you experience shape you, right? So
I don't disagree. I think that things do shape you, but the thing that he's saying, I don't really think that is necessarily the same as relationships. Like, that was about power dynamics themselves, and these guys were talking about like modern women. Like, the title says modern women destroy their kids for selfish reasons. I'm failing to see how that is related. Like, where are the selfish reasons? Where are the modern women? That experiment I learnt about like maybe over 15 years ago. So it's not a modern experiment, but it like, I'm just failing to see how this connects to the title.
Continuously show kids, right? Because I've seen it myself. There's so much single parents stuff shown, and there was a period of time where single parent stuff was shown a lot, right? And it just becomes something that's like very natural and very and all right, which shows that
even in fairy tales like Cinderella, they never
like they always remarry someone, and the stepmom's always like disgusting, but you never really talk about the mom because he was passed or something.
Yeah.
And there's always like one of those ones where single parents like lifestyle had been pushed, not like directly, but like indirectly in different ways of like if you notice it, then you notice it type of thing.
I just think that modern women are selfish when it comes to their kids. They care about themselves more than their kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad. And I think
I think that's a blanket statement. I hope she elaborates on that, but like, I think that's a huge blanket statement because I've seen quite the opposite, but
actually ruins society, because when you put yourself before your kids, you mean you put your generation before the next generation.
But what are some examples?
But are there enough? Okay, let me backtrack.
Like, she said something, but there was no context. Like, this is what is frustrating me about this person. She throws in these comments, and they're controversial comments, right? But there's no context to them, and I would just like some substance from her, because it's all two-dimensional. If she had been like, for example, there are people who will be in toxic relationships and let their kids suffer, I would have been like, yeah, I understand where she's coming from, but she's left no context there.
A bit, so to the point of like,
that's where I'm getting frustrated with
people
her.
that are not having kids, right? Do you reckon there's enough women that have passed that point of being able to get pregnant that are actually speaking to younger women and saying, all right, listen.
No.
Because that involves swallowing their pride, and they don't want to do that.
But there's enough guys saying, hey, get your act together.
But guys,
you need money. You need to do this. You need networks. You need to be able to defend yourself. There's enough. I feel like there's enough guys doing that. I just want to know from the women, are there women that are doing?
Well, like there are plenty of women who are in this space. What are you talking about? Go look at the whole YouTube political area where you've got women like Brittany Venti, for instance, who wants people to get married and not look at like adult films and all that. And you've got people like, you've got plenty of women who are for the sanctity of marriage and bringing up people and having kids. You've got plenty of women talking about that. What are these guys talking about?
Doing that.
No.
There's a fundamental difference between guys and girls. Guys will give guys genuine advice. Girls won't.
Like...
If you heard the whole phrase,
because girls compete with each other.
Yeah.
Because if you're 25 and the girl that's 38, you're competing with her for the same guy.
You've heard the phrase.
Like there are less women in the world statistically than men, aren't there? Like I believe there are less women in the world statistically than men. So you're not competing for the same guy. Like, and not just that, like, so what if you're competing? If that guy doesn't like you, they don't like you. Like, move on, go find somebody else. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like a lot of whinging.
A guy will insult a guy and not mean it. A girl will compliment a girl and not mean it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those ones where those older girls who you would think would give those advice might say to you, "Oh, you're so pretty, you should do this," but like they don't mean it.
It's like when you see girls like commenting on obese girls' pictures, like beautiful, love it. Like, what are you doing? It's not beautiful.
It's not worth
Why?
it.
Like, some obese girls have really great fashion sense, really great makeup skills, really great facial features. Like, there are plenty of fat chicks who look good. Like, I understand that being fat's not healthy. Like, I get that, and I know for myself, I'm working on my weight. I used to be a personal trainer, and I understand it's not healthy, but I don't see the problem with calling somebody beautiful, you know? You can say they're unhealthy, but still think they're beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that, you know?
Are you encouraging her?
Yeah, because look, I say it like this, yeah. With men, I don't care. Like, you look at even Kevin, yeah. I didn't care about the delivery because he's not talking to me directly. People call up and they go.
Oh yeah.
But if you're not talking to that person directly, you can see the delivery and look at that as entertainment, but you can still take the message. I think with women, it needs to be dissected in a way that makes them
directly
feel,
to them, specifically for them.
They got to feel great about it to receive it. Whereas with guys, I might, like, generally speaking, I'll just be like, cool, yeah, what he's saying makes sense,
and you move on, yeah.
And I apply it or I don't apply it. Do you know what I mean? But I believe there's enough men out there giving that direction, and I think just
there are plenty of men who disagree with that stuff too. Like, it's just I feel like that, yeah. Men and women have different attributes to their personalities, sure, but it's very, like... I feel like a lot of this is just, like, straw man arguments and not necessarily a lot of details to their statements.
Conversations that we've had here just through on the panel, is it working for you to... If you know what you want kids and you want you want a certain kind of lifestyle, you want things, is the way you're moving working for you? And if it isn't, do you have people in your life that are saying that you can talk to that haven't had kids, and they can say, boom, all right, look, time's ticking. It will get to this point, and this is how I feel now that I waited and I'm here.
Yeah, but you know what it is with that? The biggest enemy to women most times is other women. So like
because we can't even admit there's a problem.
Yeah, other women are the downfall of women. Yeah, for a lot of the time.
Like. That's a straw man thing again. Like, give examples. There are plenty of women who support. Like, they gave examples of women supporting women, and said that it was invalid because they're fat, right? But then they're also saying women are women's worst enemies. Like, anytime that I go into a chat room on Discord, it's the men who call me out, not a woman. But like, I feel like that. everything that they're saying. There's a lack of substance. There's a lack of details. That it's just a bunch of people who agree with each other. Like, it would be good to have a contrast of people in here, so it was an actual conversation, rather than them all validating each other's opinions without actually providing any details.
Because they will be the ones who will feed you the stuff that you want to hear in one side, knowing good and damn well that's not the advice you need to hear, and then watch you walk out that door and make that mistake, and then after that.
I'm gonna read you guys some stats. Some of these are from the U.S., some of these are from the UK. So take them with a grain of salt. But 1 in 4 women have an STD.
Zoinks.
1 in 3 women have had an abortion.
Okay.
38% of kids are born into single-parent homes. The average age of first child is 26, and the average age of first marriage is 30. 45% of marriages end in divorce. The average number of sexual partners for a woman is between 4 and 8. And after women have slept with more than 5 people, she has a 20% chance of having a happy marriage after 10 years. Mm-hmm. If men get divorced, they can be financially ruined and their kids can be taken from them. 70% of women are overweight. 90% of women have used contraceptives at some point in their reproductive years, and most have used more than one method throughout their lifetime. So it's like, how do we look at these numbers and say we're doing well as a whole?
But the thing is, though, like, that's a sample group, right, from one specific culture and one specific country, and you're stating that like it's worldwide. You're stating it like it's all women, and those numbers can also have variables. Like, I would argue having kids at 26 is better than having kids at 14, like, at least most people at that age are financially stable to some extent. And I would also feel that some of the stuff that has been brought up, like, the variables are there because people don't necessarily take marriage as seriously. A lot of people, like, I've been in a relationship for years. I'm not married, I just feel like that a lot of people do things differently than what they used to, if that makes sense.
and I'm not saying, that, like, because they'll always say, what about them? I'm not saying men don't have issues too, but it's like, we can't even talk about our problems without people always having to point out the men. Mm-hmm. Like, we can never even just have a conversation about the issues that we have as women without simps or women coming in saying, but men have problems too. Like, we can't even have one conversation about it.
Whereas back in the day, women used to actually sit down together and discuss things,
or they'd say you're not dressed well, you're not like,
we used to actually like catch each other up on stuff, like you're.
I still point out to people, hey, you got a little bit lippy on your teeth. Like, women still do that. What are they talking about?
Showing too much, like you're presenting yourself this way, or even something silly like you didn't brush your hair. Like, I feel like nowadays, like, girls sort of tiptoe around each other and they don't even want to like tell their friend. Like,
I disagree, but maybe because
if I'm completely honest, I think if you're insecure and you're unhappy with what you're doing yourself, then you're going to be bitchy to other people. But if you're happy and content, you've got to support. And do you know what I mean? So I think it's the individual.
I've been waiting for her to speak. Actually, I'm very curious about her opinion.
I don't think supporting. I think real supporting is being honest.
Yeah, but that's what I'm.
There's an extent. Like, okay, so you can be honest, right? But you don't have to be complete and utter troll about it. You don't have to be nasty about it. There's nothing wrong with being honest.
I mean, like she said, you might not tell your friend if they haven't brushed their hair
I would
or
tell
something.
my friend.
Yeah, no, I would as well, but some girls wouldn't. But that's because they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, they kind of want to see.
You know what I mean? Because they're unhappy with themselves. So.
Which goes back.
I think maybe some people like that, but that's more of a Mean Girls thing. Like, I feel like that would happen in TV shows and all that. Like, if you see somebody walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper on the foot, you'd usually stop them and be like, hey, there's that. So
back to what I said, a lot of times a woman's worst enemy is another woman. Because a guy would point out the fact that your shirt's kind of inside out. Cool.
Yeah.
But then,
I point out that to people all the time.
I believe like chastising someone in public is different. Like, I don't think you should do that in front of other people.
Yeah, of course not.
But you
but,
should
like,
take if it.
I do stop people who have their little flashlights on their phones while they're walking in public, and I say, "Hey, your flashlight's on," because their phone's gonna die. Like, maybe I'm just like not typical, but like, I feel like most people would do that, wouldn't they? Like, am I crazy? Am I?
If that's your real friend, then you should be able to take them to the side and say, "Hey,
yo,
you
G,
know what?
big man.
Yeah,
fix up, fix up, do better.
Fix up.
And we can respect that, and we won't look at that as like you being bitchy on it. It's like, you know, when you eat something, you got something in your teeth. Oh, please,
Please tell me.
Tell me.
Please tell me.
Like, even if you got and do all this, like, just tell me. You know what I mean? So I think
As many of you
I feel like that's very like I don't know. A lot of that wasn't really around the title. Yeah, I feel like the title was a little bit clickbaity. I thought it was going to be a little bit different to that, but let's see what she has to say.
I was just banned on TikTok, and we are demonetized on a daily basis on this platform. If
Okay.
you want to help, please consider sending a super thanks below. Every donation helps, and it helps make what we do possible.
Like, I've heard a rumor that she doesn't actually, like, she does this as a hobby, and she's actually quite well off. But I don't know. But, yeah, I feel like the whole thing, like, it's an interesting discussion, but I would have liked more about the actual title, and more about, more about how kids are destroyed, essentially. I would have loved to have heard more to do with her opinions of what is going on with kids in homes where modern women are raising kids, because I felt like that a lot of that wasn't to do with modern issues. Like, most of the, like, she could have been like, kids are being left on the internet, kids are being left on Discord, they're being exposed to all of this terrible culture, they're being taught ways to say certain derogatory terms to each other, kids are learning how to dox, kids are learning how to DDoS and all that. She could have gone that route, but this really didn't feel like the title was relevant to the actual conversation that occurred. It felt like the conversation spun off to be something else, and then she put one little comment that she made, she used that, so that's the clickbaity thing where it's like, technically the title is involved with like 2 seconds of this 12-minute and 41-second video. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that because I've got to go out today, but I just wanted to react to this because I thought it was going to be a little bit more interesting than it was, because I am looking into, like, I find the whole kids on Discord and kids in modern family kind of situations very interesting. It's a very interesting topic, but this is not it. Anyway, I will leave it at that.